Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show in a freezing cold studio.
Listen, I don't want to hear... First of all, Greg Powers is here.
What's up, y'all?
Because I want to bring him in on this. I don't want to hear your moaning, your belly aching. That's a good country term, right? Belly aching.
Literally the first words Powers said to me was, it drops below 90 and it gets frigid in here.
Oh, I'm just telling you, though. The weather... Last night, my wife and I watched a show, and then I went out to go bring in trash cans because it was trash day. Extremely domesticated.
Everybody's trash day is Tuesday, I think.
There's no way that's right.
No.
There's no
Everybody's trash day is Tuesday. All across the world.
That is quite literally impossible.
Right.
Anyway.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
You know what? Turn off
players,
Powers'
so.
mic.
I take it back.
That was a mistake. Okay. No. I went out there and it was 9 o'clock to go bring in the trash cans. An absolute delight to be outside. It was premium weather. I mean, top shelf. Oh, as good as it gets. It was probably like 70 or maybe a degree below. It was
when I woke up this morning,
spectacular.
it said that the feels like temperature was in the 50s.
Oh.
So I walked outside on my balcony and just glared.
Right now is the nicest day of the year.
Oh, this
right
is it.
now.
This is
like
we're
today.
peaking right now. We're peaking right now. Because now here's the thing: have
I redeemed myself with that comment?
You
I
have.
mean, okay,
Welcome back,
I'm
buddy.
back. My mic is on.
We
went off.
we have a variety of topics here on weather. Well, we've had a variety of discussions here on weather, and one of them is fake autumn.
Yeah,
Fraudum. I'm worried. I think this has high fraudum potential.
Oh, it absolutely.
Still early. It's September 22nd. There's a real possibility that next week it's 106 degrees.
Yeah, but the other side of that is it. Like I've heard a lot of stuff that it's supposed to get really cold quickly this year.
Well, who said that?
The weather people that are smarter
The
than we
scientists.
are. Yeah.
Let's see.
Mainly, and I mean it's reasonable to think about it too because like this, especially like the first 4 weeks of the season, usually I'm out on the sideline just drenched in sweat, and it's like it has not been that way, which has been great.
It's been cooler for you?
Yeah, it's been a lot cooler.
It's been
this year than it has been.
Yeah, I'll admit it's been chillier in the studio.
2 weeks I was in El Paso, so that does make
That's
a slight
different.
bit of difference.
The dry heat.
The next 10-day high, the highest temp, 90 degrees.
I can live with that.
Low, 84, which is today, and next Friday. So
it's going to be between 84 and 90 for the next 10 days?
Next 10 days.
Yeah, see, I'm always here.
I'm down with that.
I'm
Me
here
too.
for that, but when I start seeing those low temperatures that start with 5s, I'm not a fan of that.
I don't know. I can do it as long as it's not
5s.
windy.
I can do 5s.
All I know is that at least
4s, I'm out.
I've been living in Texas for 12 years and covered almost 20 years of Texas high school football state championship games. I'm going to guess that 10 of those years I wore shorts to the games in December.
Yeah, you can pull it off. Like there are times like cuz like I think
It's either super cold or it's hot.
Cuz
there's no in between.
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit on that because I think that what you'll see on like if it's like December 18th, let's say December 18th. It can be like 52 degrees outside. You know what I mean? Like maybe the high is 52 or something like that.
You know what the biggest issue is?
That's not
borderline.
That's
borderline shorts weather.
You're not putting the shorts away. Let's put it that
Right.
way. You know what I mean? You're not ruling out shorts at 52 degrees.
If I can talk my way up to one of those first 2 rows to park at AT&T Stadium and only have to make a short dash inside, I could
Dude,
pull off the
okay,
shorts.
here's the thing.
If
52 degrees of shorts are absolutely not out. I can guarantee you that for myself. The
Yeah, I was
other
gonna say.
side of it is...
Wait, you're saying you will wear shorts at 52 degrees?
Hell no. Absolutely not.
Okay.
That was very passionate.
Sure.
Very cold.
Okay, go on with your wrong comments.
The other side of that is AT&T Stadium, just like you said, is when you're walking to the media entrance, absolute wind tunnel. It can be like 70, and it's instantly going to feel like it's in the 50s because it's so windy there.
Let me tell you how I
That's
know that.
the worst walk.
Let me tell you how I know that. I've had to like redo my hair.
Yep, every time.
when I go to the state championship.
Last year, I
which
had
is
to
the most
lean
basic
forward
thing.
while I was walking because
Oh,
the
it's
wind
tough.
was so bad.
It's tough. You earn it. I would love to pull off the LeBron James short suit.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Oh my God!
He does the
don't
suits
please
with the
don't
shorts.
try.
I mean, if you're under the desk, only the top part of your suit's showing. I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah, but the problem is that like then I have to get walk around.
Yeah, do
you
the
know what
stand-ups.
I mean? Like I text my producer every week. And I'm like, hey, are we gonna have any stand-ups this week? And if the answer is no, it's like sweatpants. Do the old broadcast mullet. You know what I mean?
Nice.
You know,
That's
business up top,
That's a phrase.
party on the bottom. Have you never heard this?
I haven't actually.
We're all wearing sweatpants right now, by the way.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was gonna
no
say.
one knows.
Nobody's gonna stand up on this show.
I actually have a blanket, but
She actually does. I'm looking
that's
at her right now.
legit.
Hit the theme expo. Let's go. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas. It's Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a magazine, TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you're listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local, mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today. She makes us sound good. She's the Duchess of the Dorks. She's Ashley Pickle. Hello, Ashley Pickle.
Howdy, fellas.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Why'd you say fellas? Plural.
Because there's a Greg Powers in the studio.
Greg Powers, the next level athlete, is here. Hi, Greg Powers.
What's going on, y'all?
How are you?
Great.
Football season treating you okay?
Football season is awesome. Football weather is here, and just for you, Tepper.
Just for me? Ooh, I love
My fantasy football team is off to a 2-0 start,
I'm
and I have
happy
a
for you.
big matchup with Ashley Pickle.
Really?
Oh, that's this week. Pickle
That's
versus
this week.
Grev.
Yep.
Oh man,
So, and that,
dude, you've
there's
been.
going to be a lot of V Pickles coming up here in the next couple of weeks because, what is it? 2 weeks? 2 weeks. North Texas at Mizzou.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will have a wager
Pickle.
against the line, obviously, because I think we all
Right,
know
you
how
gotta
that
have
game's going to
that.
go. But against the line, we will certainly have a wager on this game.
We could lose every game of the rest of the season. If we beat Mizzou, I could
That'd
count
be
this
rough.
season as a win. Also, Grev has been absolutely murdering people in fantasy this year. It's
Why?
scary.
What's your secret?
He drafted way too well.
Being a football scout helps.
Wow.
Flex.
Wow, okay. Cool. I mean, I'm a football expert, and I'm 0-2 in my fantasy league.
Well, I can tell you this. I will typically run through the regular season and then just get dismantled at playoff time or have the heartbreaking you should have won but you played the wrong guy and you lost by 1 point.
That's rough.
So
That's
Grev.
rough. Today is
The 22nd.
thank you, Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. It is 64 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to
Do you know whose birthday it is
I
today?
have no idea whose birthday
It
it
is Dave Campbell's Texan Live's very own Chase Snyder's birthday. Happy birthday, Chase.
Happy birthday, Chase. It is also the birthday of former Reds great Vince Coleman.
nice.
This episode
Cardinals great, I would
we're
think.
going to leave. We're not talking about them right now.
Okay.
Hey,
All right.
Hey. We're not
It's
talking
rough.
about them right now.
I
rough.
actually would
It's
agree
rough.
with turning off the mic at that point.
We're
Yeah.
not talking
Well,
about them right now. I have to live,
I'm
I
glad
have
that
to
you
live
said
with
the
one.
Reds, but just the
I have
fact
to
that you
live
brought
with one. My whole other side of my family.
they're never going to lose a game again. They've won every game.
It's that devil magic, man. It's that Cardinals devil magic.
There's something about it. It's sickening.
It's sickening.
The bile is The bile is rising right now.
Sickening is the
It's-
exact.
Bile.
You're 100% right. It's sickening. It's sickening what the St. Louis Cardinals are doing. Don't root for the Cardinals, people. Episode 1246. On today's show, guys, we got This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, next level athlete, talking about the biggest news and notes from the state of Texas in the recruiting world. Then, back half of the show, we will be joined by our good friend, whose name is misspelled in the Chiron, Guy Frazier, who, but you know what? Leave it. He deserves it. Guy Frazier, who's a recruiting analyst here, helps out here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football on the texasfootball.com/recruiting side. So we will hear from Guy Frazier. We're also going to roll out a new segment from our friends at Parker University, the game-winning decision of the week. Oh, you fixed it.
Sorry, Guy. I fat-fingered that one.
So
it's right everywhere else, I promise.
We will get into that coming up here at the back half of the show. Do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was Rob Hadaway, Aaron Arbuckle, Ryan Smiga, and Tony Blaylock. Welcome in, fellas.
Howdy, friends. Howdy, friends. Let's get into this. Put your phone down so I can do the intro.
Let's do it.
Crootin
News is coming across, man. I mean, it is what it is.
Hey, the grind doesn't stop.
I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Crootin.
It's This Week in Recruiting with a strong intro here with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express. Chicken.
Oh, we're going to lose our sponsorships.
Hey, it's good chicken. It's really good chicken.
That's all right. I eat enough Chicken Express to pay for the sponsor.
That's your shit.
Yeah.
Hillsboro.
No, we love you, Chicken Express. You are a delight to the senses. That's what that should be. Delight to the senses.
I like that.
It really is. You know what? That's the other thing. I went in and I picked it up. I didn't do the drive-through the last time I went. I forgot how good that place smells. That place smells great. I just want to, like, if they made a candle that smelled like Chicken Express, I would absolutely burn it.
Now you're thinking of all kinds of good ideas.
Really
We'll have to bring those in.
Call me Chicken Express. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers and Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to. We're going to start with our prospect on the rise. Let's talk about the saga of Conroe 2022 tight end Trent McGaughy. Okay. So Trent McGaughy, you may know that name. 2022 guy, so he's a senior. If you know that name, he was on Shadow Creek. He was part of Shadow Creek. He was on that 2019 title team, I want to say.
Yep.
He was on that 2019 title team. He then moved to New Jersey. To New Jersey. We said, bye, Trent. Have fun in New Jersey.
See you never, bud.
And then he's back in Pog form at Conroe. And he's showed up and he's showing out again. He's a 3-star prospect. We've reactivated his profile on the site. He has 40 offers. This is welcome back. He's back.
I've learned a stiff lesson on the recruiting profiles.
Don't delete.
Don't delete them and activate them. And then if they come back, you just have to turn it back on, which was easy enough to do this morning, whenever we were putting the notebook together to turn his profile back on. How happy is Conroe to get a guy who helped lead a team to a 16-0 record and a state championship game as a sophomore at Shadow Creek, and now they're putting him on their roster. He missed 2020 with an injury, so we haven't seen a lot of him, but I'm excited to see what's going to play out. Now that he's back in Texas, he's reported over 40 scholarship offers throughout his recruitment, some really big names on that list. At the time that we deactivated his profile, I kind of thought, Miami and LSU were two of the ones that stood out. Those were the two schools that I felt were the most pertinent to list. He hasn't really picked up a lot of offers since the spring of the 2020 year. I think only one offer from UNLV maybe came in since that time. So it'll be interesting to see which schools are major factors for him. He took an unofficial visit, I believe, to Oklahoma this past weekend. They haven't offered him yet, but you can see that he's on the radar of some big-time schools. I don't know. I just feel like this one's got a Houston vibe to me. I don't know why. I think this is a guy that would really be a key piece for a Cougars team and may fit in well to that offense because he's a more of a pass-catching tight end. Mm-hmm. He's not a guy he's a good point-of-attack blocker, solid. I wouldn't describe that as the strength of his game. Get him the football, let him make some moves. He's more of an H-back, split-out wide type of tight end.
Yeah, more of a big-time receiving threat as opposed to a guy you want as an inline guy. And certainly Conroe enjoying having a guy show up like that, be like, hey, can I play? That's pretty darn good. Prospect on the rise, Trent McGaughy from Conroe. Now, let's go to our commit of the week. Pickle. It's time to talk about the troops. Because Denton Geyer, 2022 running back B.J. Phillips, has committed to Army.
How about that?
The troops, who are undefeated.
There you go.
Go Troops.
Also, the best jerseys in college football. One of the best jerseys in college football.
The whole look, the black and gold is so good. Anyway, maybe that's a reason why B.J. Phillips went there. He had offers from Sam Houston, and he also had offers from the other two service academies, Air Force and troops. Navy. The other troops. You've got Air Troops and Aqua Troops, but he chose Troops over them. He's heading to Army, and a big reason why Geyer's off to a 4-0 start.
Yeah, and this is a rugged and tough runner. I think he fits into that Army offense to a T. This is the guy who really enjoys running over you versus running around you, although he does have some good acceleration. I wouldn't describe him as a speed back. I'm categorizing him as a tough downhill type of guy. But you can see him here playing against Hebron in the first clip. He's not getting ran down. Hebron's got guys. You see a guy catching up to him there, not going to catch him. That's a 75-yard touchdown. So he has a lot of decent skills. Jackson Arnold has been the key to that offense so far in 2021, but as this thing goes down the stretch and pushes into the playoffs, they will lean heavily on Phillips.
It's funny because we're watching a lot of these, and these are the highlights, obviously,
right.
and we're watching a lot of these breakaway touchdowns. When I think of B.J. Phillips, when I watch him, I think like a thumper. Like he's a guy who's like, all right, like it's 3rd and 2, and you need 3 yards, and you just hand it to him, and it's automatic. You know what I mean? And which is obviously a perfect fit for an offense like Army where they run the triple. And yeah, he's a guy who I think is going to fit right in. And by the way, I think has a great chance of leading Geyer deep into the playoffs and maybe all the way to AT&T Stadium. I mean, he's the guy that they haven't needed as much in the early going.
I think he's got like 150-ish yards so far.
Yeah, they haven't needed as much, but when it gets to big boy football time, like where they're going to go, and it's going to go to B.J. Phillips.
Look at it. Thumper's the perfect way to describe him, especially when you get these tight angle highlight clips. You can see that type of guy, but look, he's got some explosion in the middle of that offense. Watching the Texan Live broadcast of the game last week, Geyer's loaded. Yeah, this is a team that's loaded for bear. And one thing that stuck out to me is that they have these good offensive players, but that defense is pretty salty.
Yeah, that defense got 4. They got 4 FBS kids in the secondary, which is very impressive. They've also got an FBS kid at the running back spot in B.J. Phillips, the new commitment to Army. Go Troops. This week in recruiting with Greg Powers and Next Level Athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved with the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Let's go to our underclassmen of the week. Our underclassmen of the week. Let's talk about a sophomore.
So I can say that 2024 makes you feel oof.
Edge guy. We'll call him an edge guy. Defensive end, outside linebacker, Colin Simmons for Duncanville. He picked up an offer from Texas last week. He had an interesting week because he may end up, at 6'1", 210, he may end up profiling as an outside linebacker, but they lined him up off the edge last week against DeSoto in place of Amari Abor, who was out with an injury and still came up big. This is a guy who I know is one of those young guys that Duncanville's pretty excited about getting more reps on the varsity level.
Talk about perfect timing. He gets his break while the UT coaches are in attendance. You know what I mean? To start for an injured 5-star and has a 5-star type of game himself.
Yeah.
The first play here against DeSoto that he had on this week's highlight clip, you saw the explosion and speed off the edge that he's bringing. 6'1", 210, I'd like to see what he can do at linebacker too. Will he grow and be the type of guy who sticks at defensive end, or will he be a hybrid, or will he be a true linebacker? I think all those are details that will be sorted out, but there's no doubt that he was a terror to DeSoto and made a lot of big plays and got his name on the radar. We speak a little bit later with Guy Frazier, who was in attendance at this game, about Colin Simmons and what his impressions were of him. It just so happened that this is the underclassman who picked up the biggest offer also in state this week. And, man, it must be nice sometimes to kick back and be Reggie Samples, picking up your 300th win this week, putting out the type of players that Duncanville puts out year in,
your 5-star
year
defensive
out.
end can't go in your district opener, and we're like, hey, kid who's been itching to play,
right?
Who may in fact be himself a high ceiling prospect.
Go out there and get that Texas
You want to play?
offer.
Yeah, exactly right.
That was 1 week highlights of him. But if you want to have a whole lot of fun just watching somebody dominate JV competition, we talked about this when we discovered Anthony Hill. This is a guy who has a monster JV.
Oh, does he?
Had a lot
one of those you
he
just
had
kind of feel bad for the other
Yeah.
team at that point.
Yeah, that'll happen. Let's get to our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week is a name you may know down in the Houston area. It's Atascocita offensive tackle Cameron Dewberry went on an official visit this week to Oklahoma. Watched Oklahoma play with their food against Nebraska, but eventually win. I have to give you know who's going to be terrible about this? Erin Hart again. Awful about it. She's a Nebraska person. Anyway, he has now used 4 of his 5 NCAA allowed visits. He's gone to Oklahoma, Ohio State, LSU, and A&M. It sounds like he's gonna finish at Alabama, but seemed to have a good time at Oklahoma, and so they've certainly put their best foot forward.
Right. And this is one that's hard to read because Dewberry seems like one of those guys who is high on his latest official visit. Coming out of the Ohio State official visit, you saw a lot of predictions coming in for the Buckeyes. They made a huge step forward while he was in Columbus. For me, I have a hard time believing that an Atascocita guy doesn't go to A&M. Like, I just can't buy the hype for whatever reason. I know that Alabama is going to make a strong play probably on his last official visit. Oklahoma is always going to make a strong case. They're in the national title hunt every year, but my brain isn't working in a way that says this kid won't.
Well, it's Kenyon Green disease,
right?
It's Kenyon Green, who it's like, you mean the last superstar offensive tackle to come out of Atascocita?
Right.
They've got another one. Oh, okay. I bet he does the same thing. But at the same time, you always tell me, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do.
Very true.
And he's finishing at Alabama. I also have a hard time feeling like this is one that Nick Saban's going to let get away.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue it. Like I said, it's in recruiting. It can be fickle, especially on guys who ride the waves of emotion following official visits. Mm-hmm. And this is more like old school, traditional recruiting, where these guys are uncommitted into their senior season and signing day is approaching, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when these colleges can throw all of the bells and whistles at them and woo them on the official trip. That's why it always used to be uber important to get the last trip. The fifth trip, that's the one you want because you want to have the last shot at getting them on your campus.
You want to be the last voice they hear.
You want to say, hey, you've seen all these other guys. Here's what we can bring that's better than them. That gives you a market advantage. We just don't see it as much now because so many of these recruits make early decisions. I mean, these guys are making decisions before they ever step on the field. As seniors, this year's a little bit different where you have top guys like Denver Harris, Cameron Dewberry, Abor. A lot of these top guys are still playing this process out. So I think it's going to be an exciting lead up to the early signing period where I do think you'll see a lot of these guys sign. In
December.
December.
And then there's also hat science. I mean, hat science is its own realm of things where you get the hats out there and you try to figure out based on the bend of the bill.
You never go with the floppy hat.
You think the bucket hat is a no?
The bucket hat is a no, or the hat that has like the brass snap on the back. You got two. You got two fitted hats and a brass snap.
The dad hat.
Yeah.
Because the fitted hats, you're going to know exactly which size that you need. That makes sense. Okay. We did have one question for Powers real fast in the comments. Levi Niebush wanted to know if you have any bets on where Major Everhart is going, the running back out of Amarillo, Tascosa.
Well, he is fresh off of an official visit to Notre Dame, and that's his biggest offer. I'm watching that one closely. He has difference-making speed. If he gets away from Texas Tech, it'll be a massive blow to them. They've pushed all in on Major Everhart. He also has offers from TCU and Baylor. But, man, Notre Dame, there's just something about Notre Dame. I think to a lesser degree that Notre Dame offer would speak to a guy like Major Everhart that the Stanford offer does to a lot of people. It's just like a really good blend of academics and football. So we'll see how it plays out. Could stay at home, go to Texas Tech, but let's go hedge my bets towards Notre Dame at this point.
Okay.
All right.
A guy who we never hedge
Irish.
our bets on. It's Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, please stick around because we need you to intro the next segment. Can you do that?
I'll do it.
Can you please?
I will.
Wait,
I'll
stick around,
stay.
please. Wait. We do that?
Yes.
We're at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. And now, a word from our partners. Fast scans, happy fans. Hometown Ticketing is proud to be the official digital ticketing solution of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Simplify your school's ticketing with Hometown, providing schools nationwide with the best options for digital ticketings for their events. Visit their website at hometownticketing.com to learn how they can make digital ticketing possible at your school. That's hometownticketing.com.
Powers,
who did you talk to this week?
We caught up with Guy Frazier, DCTF contributor, and you can follow some of his fine work at texasfootball.com/recruiting. And we're going to get his take on his parody account, which I'm looking forward to.
A lot to talk about with Guy Frazier here on Texas Football Today.
Greg Powers, TexasFootball.com, and we're joined by a special guest this week, man. One of our top guys, one of my good friends, Guy Frazier, man. It's been a good year. You want to know why? Texas high school football is back. The fans are back. It actually is starting to cool down. It feels like fall today. You know, as we're doing this interview on Tuesday night, which will be aired on Wednesday, it's going to be even more fall weather coming for us in the days ahead. And how excited are you just to be out there and going out and seeing some good action? You've been to some good games so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, things are starting to change as far as, weather-wise, when games are starting to kick off more nighttime or dusk, and get things rolling a little bit. So you got to change your camera settings and adjust a little bit. But, I made a fun trip out to Tyler last week with a couple of the guys. I got to see DJ Hicks, and it was the first time I wore a pullover because, weather's changing. And so you're starting to feel a little bit like fall. So we've hit the road, hit East Texas a little bit, hit some good games here locally. Saw Duncanville DeSoto last week, which, big win for Reggie Samples, getting win number 300 and everything that came with that, but also saw some good recruits and a lot of college coaches in the building. So, that type of stuff is always fun to chat with those guys and get to know some of these players more, but also pick the brains of guys like Barrick Neely was on the sideline from UTEP. And just catch up with good friends and whatnot. So it's been good so far the first couple of weeks.
Man, I've seen you on social media. I even see that you have a parody account out there now.
I do.
What's that about?
Yeah, so obviously I've got a little bit of a distinct voice. That's a little bit of my trademark. And so that became a little bit of a joke really for a while now. But the first week, Step and Mike Roach and myself were all together. And next thing you know, this idea of making a parody account really centered around my voice, but more just, some of my mannerisms and whatnot. And, we've all got them, but I'm a pretty good sport and can laugh at myself a little bit. So Stephen Peters, who does a little bit of freelance coverage for Dallas Morning News and Vipe and some of those companies, had teamed up with Mike to make an account. And I kind of urged them to do so because I thought, it's pretty funny. And it's just kind of taken a life of its own. A couple of the Dave Campbell's people follow it. And, we're slowly trying to grow it. I think people think it's kind of interesting that I find it funny too. But, I think got to be a good sport. So.
Well, we all have our idiosyncrasies, I think, when we're out on the beat. Everybody has, I think, know how it is. We all get together covering Texas high school football, college football, recruiting. Everybody seems to have that one special thing about them that either makes them unique or funny or completely unfunny and too serious. Yeah. Everybody's got something going on, and they're all we all are able to pick on each other in those certain ways. And I don't think anybody gets offended by it or anything like that. It's all in good fun, and we all enjoy each other's company. We've talked about a lot of big time recruits, articles that you've done on the site, articles I've done on the site, following each other on Twitter and looking at all the top guys. But so many guys in the first few weeks, there's some names out there that I just feel like I kind of want to talk about. And one of those intriguing names to me is TJ Shanahan from down at Austin Westlake, a kid who moved in from Florida. When I watched his tape from Florida, I was super impressed. And I know that he hasn't really moved up the rankings list like on some of the national sites yet. But when I watched that tape, I thought, this is going to be one of the top rated guys in Texas, maybe a top 10 type of guy. I think those rankings will catch up. What were your impressions of him as he adjusted Texas high school football there at Austin Westlake? Is he that good, or am I a little bit too optimistic about him?
Yeah, so I mean, small sample size for me. One thing that even made it even smaller was the night I saw him, it seemed like they were rotating him a little bit. So I don't know if that's as he just kind of grows and gels within the Westlake program, or I couldn't tell if he got injured early in the game. Now, he did play majority of it, so I saw a good amount of snaps. Obviously, a really big physical kid. I didn't know this, but I guess he has a Polynesian background. Was actually related to a couple of the Euless Trinity. I think two players, or at least one. His cousins were at Euless Trinity, so he had a lot of family in the house that night. So I didn't get to talk to him after, but just getting eyes on him. And I've watched his huddle tape too. Obviously, a really physical player, and he just mauls guys up front. I don't know what you thought. It seemed like when he was in Florida, he was in more of a run-based offense.
Right.
So a lot of his film was of him and run protection and trying to get downfield and just maul dudes. A little bit different at Westlake, obviously. So I think he's trying to gel into that and get used to that. But they've got such a talented front line across the board. It's not just dependent on him, but I do think some of those rankings and stuff like that will probably catch up, because his recruitment has really started to pick up and pick steam, obviously, in the last couple of weeks. And that's kind of when I went and saw him, was when he started to blow up on Twitter and with the Mike Roaches of the world and guys like that. So, I'm interested to see where his recruitment goes, and I'd like to see him again at some point this year, but obviously a really big physical kid and athletic for his size.
The fun time of the year for me, we get into the third and fourth weeks of the season. That's when the highlight tapes really start to be intriguing. Sure. I think this year's evaluation for the senior class is going to be more important. One thing that I find interesting covering recruiting over the years is that a lot of times you do early recruiting rankings and you don't necessarily have the time to go back and evaluate that senior crop as closely, because you have to move on to covering the juniors and sophomores to get those rankings right. Sure. This is a year I feel like it's a little bit different. I have to really pay attention, and the guys who do rankings have to really pay close attention to the senior film, because we lost so much of the 2020 season, not only on the field, but off the field during the evaluation periods, to see these guys compete against one another. So it's a fun time of the year just to kind of look at tapes. Right now, our number one rated guy in the state in the DCTF Hot 100 is Denver Harris. But unlike any other year, I don't know that there is a definitive number one guy. Of course, Quinn Ewers moved on to Ohio State, left high school a year early. But it's like a hot debate this year, I feel like. You can look down the list, and we've got Evan Stewart, number 6, and he's number 1 on some of the other sites. So, there's not a clearly defined guy out there. What are your thoughts in general? Let's just talk some ball, man. Like, what are your thoughts on some of the top guys out there? Do you have a guy who you feel like you would make an argument for number 1, or who is your pick? And I'll tell you why I got Denver Harris at number 1, even though he's nursing an ACL injury. He'll be coming back, hopefully later on this season. But it's rare that you have a defensive back with his size and his abilities playing for one of the top teams in the state. And those guys who can lock down the number 1 guy across from you on the offensive side of the football are extremely valuable no matter what the level is. You see it in the NFL, you see it in college football. And I put a certain value on that. It's easy, I think, sometimes to look at a quarterback or an edge rushing specialist and say, wow, this guy's a freak. But it's a little bit tougher to find a good corner and say he's got the footwork, the hips, the speed, and the size to be a number 1 guy. And I don't think we've had a whole lot of number 1 guys at the corner position. So I do think he's a unique talent, but I'm open to arguments this year.
Yeah, I think I was actually at the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he got injured in the Westlake semifinal game last year. So I was actually at that game. I had seen him years before when they came up to Dallas for the state championships and all that, and he started to become a name. I was really excited to get eyes on him that day, and then he got hurt. So, and I'm a little bit limited because, as you know, I'm a part-time guy and I help you out on the side here. So I don't get to get down to Houston as much, and I don't get to watch Huddle all the time. I obviously know plenty about Denver, and he's a special talent. I think you're right in that if you can have a guy like a corner, it's a little bit more unique for him to be, slated as your one guy. It's easy to just throw another quarterback up there, edge guy, like you said. That's a little more commonplace. But, personally for me, and this maybe is a little biased because I'm closer to him, but I really like Evan Stewart, which I know is maybe, a little bit of the easy pick, but because I watch more Dallas-Fort Worth football, because it's in my backyard, the plays I've just seen Evan make both on the 7-on-7 circuit and pads, the weekly highlights you see on Twitter, he's just a special talent. And for me, I've been watching this stuff for a long time, but I've really only been, covering it from a recruiting perspective for a couple years now. But, he's, to me, a generational type talent, the twitchiness, the athleticness that he can bring to the table. And I just think that the playmaking ability he has, yes, I mean, Denver has that too, but Evan to me is just really, really special. And I also think he's a really smart, cerebral player. So there's just something there that he just catches my eye. And so I think that class, that's probably my pick. But again, that's a little biased because I get to see him more than I get to see a guy like Denver in person. I can talk to Evan if I want. I can't get a hold of Denver like that. So it's a little different, I'm not sure anybody can really get a hold of Denver at times. But, obviously a really special talent. He's just a little bit out of my scope just because he's not in my backyard as much. So.
Well, I mean, I think an argument could be made for a guy like Harold Perkins, right? I think that if you're looking at a guy who brings certain intangibles to the table, speed, aggressiveness, and downhill ability, Harold Perkins is one of those guys who has a special skill set that is unique, and he really jumps out at you on tape. If he was a little bit heavier, I think he would even be at the top of even more boards. Everybody has him rated, in that 5-star-ish type of range. But I mean, you can just look down the list, and a guy who has caught my eye certainly jumped out of the gates with a strong freshman season, sophomore season, junior year, and has been playing really good so far this season, in my opinion, is Cam Dewberry. He's number 13 in the DCTF Hot 100 right now. And he just seems to me like a player on the rise in some respects. They had that big win over Allen, and he just passes the eyeball test. So I think that there's some arguments out there. It's like we talked about. It's just a unique year, and I think that we could reflect back on these rankings over time and say it'll be fun to say this is the ones we got right and this is the ones we got wrong. And I think there will be a wider variance with this class.
And Cam's a guy I would like to get eyes on in person at some point. I never think it's fair for at least me to make a judgment until I see someone in person. I just think that adds a different perspective to it. So I know Atascocita's been up here twice, and I was not at either game. But that's a guy in the playoffs. I know it'll be later in his cycle will be wrapping up by that point. But I would like just to see him in person. I've heard all sorts of ideas of what he could be at the next level, and it sounds like Oklahoma's OV form this past week was really impressive on his part. So I'm a Texas guy. I would like to see him in Austin maybe eventually, but I don't know if that ends up happening. But obviously a really special talent, and just because you mentioned him, that is a guy I'd like to see in person myself.
It's really interesting too because he is one of those guys who could slide inside out. I think early on in his college career, like Kenyon Green, who played at Texas A&M, he's a guy who starts on the inside, but as he grows and develops and matures in a college program, that he could end up popping out and playing some tackle as he gains experience. We'll see how it all works out. The 2022 class, just as intriguing to me. I've got 3 guys at the top of my board right now. I've made no bones about who those 3 guys are. And it's DJ Hicks, Anthony Hill, and Jalen Hale. Those are the 3 guys who I've pegged early. And there's certainly some sleepers who are starting to emerge. And these guys, by and large, have all the major offers. So sometimes it's not fair whenever every college in the entire country is calling your name and extended you scholarship offers. Those guys kind of rise to the top sometimes. Is there anybody else out there besides those three that you've seen that you're like, wow, man, we should take note of this guy?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Those are three really impressive names to throw out there on the top. And Anthony to me has really grown into a favorite. He's probably the most sure tackler I've ever seen, at least covering from the recruiting perspective. And I was trying to think of just all the guys I've seen over the years chasing this stuff with my dad growing up and all that. I don't know. He's tough to top. So other names in that class that stick out, I'm just trying to think of impressive guys I've seen in the 23 class that I've seen this year.
What about the black unicorn, Reuben Owens, man? He's certainly a guy who grabs a lot of headlines.
Yeah, so Reuben's a guy I'd love to see in person, but obviously really blowing up right now. And he's actually a guy that good friend Mike West, who's a guy down in Houston, put all of us on when he was a freshman or maybe an eighth grader. And obviously the nickname stood out a lot. But, he's in a run-heavy offense down there at El Campo, so he's got plenty of opportunities to shine. And in the last couple of weeks, he's put up some really gaudy numbers. And obviously another guy that just really curious to see how his recruitment, winds up. I think he could end up in Austin, but, it sounds like Georgia was impressive to him, and he's got a really good relationship with Arch Manning. So there's a couple guys. It's Reuben, Jonte Cook's another guy. And then, Arch, who's not in Texas, but that whole recruitment, seeing where those guys end up, it seems like they end up maybe together. But it's, fun just to watch those guys' recruitment at the top and kind of see where they end up. But Jonte would actually be another guy that I like a lot.
We're going to wrap this up. You were at the big Duncanville DeSoto game. I got a chance to see DeSoto earlier. You mentioned Jonte Cook, and we all know about the great Duncanville seniors on that team. They've got a loaded class this year, a couple of big-time offensive linemen in Cam Williams and Jalen Early. They got Amari Abor on the defensive side of the football. But a couple of young guys jumped out to you. Who were those guys, and who should these fans that are listening to this podcast take note of, because they're going to be these next big-time dudes?
Yeah, so one of them actually got a big offer from Texas today in Colin Simmons. I'm a little behind on some of this stuff with some of the younger guys because I had some health issues in the offseason, so I'm slowly kind of catching up with that the last couple of weeks.
You don't give yourself enough credit, man. You're out there seeing top guys all the time.
Right. So, Colin popped up because he gave me a follow on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. So I'm like, okay, Duncanville, who is this guy? Talked to our good buddy Mike Roach, and he's like, he's a dude, go watch his huddle. And so it's, I think it's all JV film at this point a couple of weeks ago because he had no real varsity experience yet. At any other school, that kid's probably starting on varsity last year. His JV film was violent, as sure of a tackler as you'll see at that level. I mean, he's just totally dominating, super twitchy off the edge. So I'm like, I wonder how that's going to, progress onto the varsity level. Well, last Friday was, Amari Abor was out. So it was kind of his stage to really take off and be the guy. And he did just that. He's a dude. He probably had the most impressive night, and that's saying something with the amount of guys that were on the field. Forced, I think he forced 2 fumbles, I believe, recovered 1.
Wow.
Had a sack or 2, deflected the pass, just super active up front and disruptive. And so he picked up the Texas offer today. Texas coaches were in the building on Friday, so they obviously took notice of him. So he's probably the next big guy up front in the front 7 for Duncanville, which is saying something because that's a front 7 that's produced a lot over the last couple of years. And then another name that stood out, and it's actually a name I've known since he was in middle school, is DeCorian Moore, who's a receiver, athlete over at Duncanville. He's already getting his fair share of snaps at the varsity level as a freshman. And actually made a couple plays or 2 downfield and showed flashes of what his potential could be. He's actually even a little bit of a threat on special teams already at this point. So, he's just a guy that is ahead of his age. And I've seen a couple of guys like that this year. And to me, that's fun, is when you find those younger guys who are kind of the guys are going to bloom into something down the road, hopefully. So those are 2 names that I think will take off eventually. And people should know if they don't know who they are at this point.
that's why we go to the games, right? You know, those are the guys that we're hoping to discover whenever we go out there, the fun guys that you're able to, you know, even if you're not discovering them, you're the first one to see them, that you're able to see them early on in their progression and see them develop as they, you know, go throughout their high school career. It's a lot of fun to then, in turn, watch them play on a college football field. And you can think of way back when you saw them playing as a 14-year-old freshman and say, that dude was 6'5" when he was a freshman. You know, now look at him playing on the big stage, and it's a whole lot of fun. Well, guys, thanks for joining us this week. It was a blast having you on. We're going to do this more often.
Sure.
One of the best follows on Twitter, at Uncle Fraz, Phrase. I don't know how you say it. Follow him.
Yeah.
Uncle Fraz on Twitter, and then you can follow some of his fine work right here at DCTF, TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Yeah, hey, Greg. Thanks for always giving me the opportunity and the platform, and just, you know, always giving me a shot. I really appreciate it.
Man, you deserve it.
Thanks.
There he
appreciate
is,
it.
the real Guy Frazier, joining us here on Texas Football Today. Our good buddy.
Man of the people.
A man of the people. I haven't seen him in a minute.
I think you'll see him tomorrow.
Is he going to be in Longview? Or, I'm sorry, in Mesquite?
Yep.
Awesome.
According to Step.
Hi, Guy. We'll see you tomorrow, I guess. So there he is. Appreciate his insights and I appreciate his help. Covering recruiting for Dave Campbell's Texas Football at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Pickle, one more thing to do today. We're going to talk about the Parker University game-winning decision of the week, brought to you by the Parker University Sports and Performance Clinic. They want to spotlight some of the good decisions, the game-winning decisions that players are making across the state of Texas, and we got a big one this week. Kyron Henderson from Dallas Kimball turning it upfield, turning a short screen pass into a long game-winning touchdown for Dallas Kimball. And Kyron Henderson of Dallas Kimball gets our game-winning decision of the week, brought to you by Parker University and the Parker University Sports and Performance Clinic. Congratulations to him. An outstanding decision by him to bring Dallas Kimball a big win last week. And for more information, visit parker.edu. Congratulations again to Dallas Kimball's Kyron Henderson, our recipient of this week's game-winning decision of the week, brought to you by Parker University and the Parker University Sports and Performance Clinic. And now let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment, Final Thoughts.
So there was a specific question given earlier in the show for Final Thoughts, and it was from one very own Matt Stepp. He said...
1 P or 2s?
2 Ps.
Okay.
Yeah, your good buddy, your good friend, your pal.
Oh, Matt Stepp.
Mm-hmm. Matthew. Sorry,
Oh.
I should have said that.
I thought she said Matt Steff, and I was like, I don't know a Matt Steff.
I don't know a Matt Steff. Well, Matt Stepp, double P there. My birthday is on Thanksgiving this year. Can you ask Tepper, how does he feel about a birthday/Thanksgiving combo platter? That's also
How
Ruth's
do I
birthday.
feel about that? So I had a Thanksgiving-themed birthday party this weekend, or not this weekend, this year, a couple months ago. I had a Thanksgiving-themed birthday. It was the best, maybe the best birthday I've ever had. It was awesome. Okay, we got a turkey. We made it a potluck. Everybody brought a little something. We all had tons of food. It was great.
And that was in
that is
June.
That was in June.
So
that was in June.
Yeah.
The real crime in our society today is that we believe that Thanksgiving food is only for one day a year. Guys, that food slaps year round.
Yeah, but it's also special.
Treat yourself to some green bean casserole this weekend. Just
Yeah.
make it, because it's great. Go get a turkey. Turkey's cheaper now than it is in November, right? Because the capitalists want to make a buck off you, right? Take back the keys to the factory. What I'm saying is, let's go and celebrate Thanksgiving year-round. And if your birthday happens to fall on Thanksgiving, embrace it, because you have the best day of the year as your birthday.
You know what stinks about that, though?
Nothing?
It's like people that have a birthday in, I mean, you could say December, which your kid has a birthday in December, but it's like it kind of stinks because then like especially if you have your birthday like on Christmas, it should be two great days of celebration that you're forced to celebrate in one, and that kind of stinks for people.
My mom's birthday is December 15th, which that's tough. That's real tough, right? I've always thought that, and because everybody wants to give you the combo gift.
Yeah,
that's no fair. That's no fair. But it does feel like if your birthday is on like June 25th, I'm sorry, not June 20th, December 25th, it's like, well, you're always going to have like the second most important birthday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're always fighting for second place, right? Yeah. On December 25th. So for like my birthday is June 26th. My birthday is June 26th. That was also the day that the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage, and so like all of my gay friends love my birthday. Yeah. It's like their favorite day. I'm like, yeah, awesome guys, like let's all celebrate everything.
Now let's celebrate Thanksgiving on this day.
I'll glom onto it too. Like it's great. Yeah, I don't know. I think that if something awesome happens on your birthday, embrace it. Don't run from it. You know what I mean?
That's fair. My birthday is July 31st, which is usually the trade deadline, and I'm let down.
Baseball trade.
I'm let down every
year.
Yeah, like,
every year.
Like the Reds are never trading for like
and the lead up
Aaron
to it,
Judge.
You always have the lead up to it, right? Like that last week, you're like reading all the rumors. You're like, this is going to be the year. The Reds are going to go all in.
They're going to trade for Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, never, exactly. Never great.
Two things real fast. My mom's birthday is February 11th, so it's right by Valentine's Day. So my dad's kind of like, good, because you've got Christmas, birthday, Valentine's Day, boom, boom, boom.
My wife's birthday is February 17th.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I run the gift gauntlet. And it used to be that our dating anniversary was in early March. So you're talking Valentine's, birthday.
Do you have to separate those out, or do you try to make it a big celebration?
I can't do that. That's not going to fly because my wife's favorite holiday is Valentine's Day. She loves Valentine's.
That was a smart play by her. Smart play.
I gotta really.
So February, big.
I gotta work.
Pocket money.
I gotta work. Right. Exactly.
Step put in the comments. Birthday on December 25th is like being a 4A D2 team.
It really is. Yeah, you're up against You're gonna run into Carthage at some point. You're gonna run into the Lord, our Lord and Savior.
Yeah, baby Jesus.
At some point, you know, like you won the semifinal. That's awesome. Now you got to face our Lord and Savior. You know what I mean? That's tough.
Carthage is baby Jesus,
or the Lord of the Rings, so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's an ender. This is why we keep him around.
Boy, howdy. That's quite okay.
That's it. I've got nothing
else. For us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Hey, Powers, thanks.
Let's do it again next week.
Thanks to Guy Frazier for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please come get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow for the 1,246th episode spectacular, 7th episode spectacular of Texas Football Today.